Hola from Lima. Hola from Pamplona Alta. I'm gonna do something a little different today by splitting my video between two locations, because I'm splitting my personal time this week between the two, and I think we can learn something in the comparison. Keep an eye on the bottom of the screen if things get confusing. Pamplona Alta is basically a suburb of Lima, rising in the foothills outside the city. The houses are more like shacks. And in the winter, when the mist rises, you can't see down into Lima from up here in Pamplona, or vice versa. And the thing is, many people here in Pamplona will tell you that the mist is a good metaphor, as these hills are so often ignored by those down in Lima, almost as if they were hidden from sight. Lima is the capital of Peru, a coastal city with something like a third of the country's total population. It's a city for surfers, for business people, and for tourists. Despite the attempts to give Lima a homely atmosphere, it's still a big city, and it shares that most wonderful trait of all big cities, communal isolation. The big city, where you can stick to yourself in a community of others who are also sticking to themselves. But people in Pamplona, it turns out, are isolated as well. Around 1990, a grassroots terrorist group called the Shining Path was responsible for so much violence in the mountains and in the rainforest that thousands of people were displaced. They dispersed, and many of them came here. Shanties exploded up the hills, built quickly to allow for the families to move in. And with mass migration usually comes mass poverty, and with that, massive health problems. Pamplona Alta was no exception. Here, in the early morning as I run through the city, I see more landscapers than I do pedestrians. I see hotels manicuring their 2-foot lawns out front. I see reflection pools and commissioned sculptures. I see a city making a concentrated effort at aesthetic appeal. Here, literal wild dogs dig through literal trash piles that are taller than I am. In Pamplona Alta, the waste has nowhere to go, and so it stays and remains an unwanted part of the scenery. The distance between here and there is not far. It can be driven in about 10 minutes, though the asphalt turns to dirt. But to live a life in Lima, or to live a life in Pamplona, they're completely different, almost as if they're different planets. In the one, your drinking water and your bath water is stored in uncovered rain barrels. In the other, you can visit the mall, stay at the Marriott, pay for your overpriced coffee at Starbucks, and even go hang gliding along the coast. Yes, I'm making generalizations. The Miraflores district of Lima does not represent every inhabitant of Lima. And yes, some Pamplona people travel into Lima every day, blurring the lines between the two. Yes, there are some in Pamplona Alta who have it better than others, and some of them sit in the middle of the poverty spectrum. But it still amazes me that humans can live in such different circumstances so closely. At some point, we have to start paying attention to those differences. And the thing is, I haven't described a single thing unique to Peru. Drastic disparity is very common now, even amongst those back in the States. This isn't a developing nation issue, it's a global one. We have to take a hard look at that divide. To quote Tracy Kidder's life changer of a book, Mountains Beyond Mountains, many of the groups of people living on the wrong side of the health divide have brown or black skin. Many are female. What they all have in common is poverty. Poverty, it seems, is the great uniter and the great separator. I'll see you all next week from home. Best wishes.